started the band when we were at university together, just in our sort of student accommodation, and started writing a few songs. Didn't really have any plans to play them live, and then as time went on, people seemed to be sort of interested in what we were doing. We started the band properly. It was about 5-6 years ago, I think. Yeah, we've sort of not really ever been involved with the music industry, sort of the mainstream music industry directly. We've tried to do a lot of stuff ourselves when we can, and just try and be self-sufficient, not have to ask anyone to do anything for us that we could do ourselves. And as we've sort of gone along, we've had to ask people to do booking or press for us, but they're usually sort of friends of the band, people we've had dealings with in the past. And I don't know if our sort of perception of the music industry's changed. What's your?
Well, I think maybe before you're in a band, you think that all these things that bands have, like managers and press agents and people who do all these jobs, are essential to being in a band. But when you actually start doing it yourself, you find that a lot of it can be covered by us, and it's kind of better in some senses if we do a lot of those things, because we retain control over the way the band is perceived and our plans for what we do.
Kind of, we sort of think of ourselves as a DIY band, and I think a lot of that is it's the process of learning to do things. So when we first started, you get a copy of like Photoshop and you start making posters for your own band, and everything from sort of that level up is part of doing things yourself. You don't need to ask someone when you need a poster or
same with recording.
And recording, yeah.
If you can learn to do those things yourself, then it takes so much of a sort of expense out of doing the band. If you can record everything yourself, you don't have to pay for someone to help you with it. And yeah, it's been quite a big learning curve, I guess, for us. In a lot of
we've had a lot of time to sort of learn how to do things and perfect them, and we're slowly getting better at doing the things that we do ourselves, and the things that we now struggle to do because we've got to a certain sort of level with the band, we've passed on to other people. But keep it as like a close team around Maybeshewill.
Family. I think initially trying to get shows out of the town we're based in was probably quite difficult, and that's kind of indicative of the nature of the British music industry, because there's so many bands and so many venues, and so it's sort of oversaturated with people trying to make it.
If people don't know who you are, they're unlikely to give you a chance. So when you first start out as a band, proving that you're sort of good enough and that people are going to be interested enough in you is really hard. And we're seeing a lot of our friends' bands that are just sort of starting out now having the same problems. But I don't really know how we got around it. It's just sort of persistence and keeping trying. And
I think a lot of luck factored into it as well for us, because we had initially a lot of sort of success came through internet, word of mouth. Obviously, the first EP we did was available online, and a lot of people like downloaded it and heard about us through that. And I think that gave us a real boost, which a lot of other bands may not have. So that kind of worked in our favour. But it's really difficult to get those first few tours booked when you're just starting out. But we were quite lucky.
Yeah, it's sort of difficult because when MySpace first started, you heard about loads of bands that got famous through MySpace because they were in the first wave of bands that sort of adopted it and started making their music available that way. But now every band knows that you need to be on social networks and you need to be spreading the word that way. So I think now it's, there's so many different platforms for people to put their music on, and so many bands trying to do it, that it's too many. So I think bands need to find sort of more innovative ways to be found, I guess. It's quite a difficult thing to sort of analyse, I suppose.
I think it's the same when any sort of new media outlet comes along. It's always going to be the first few people to jump on that bandwagon are going to have success with it. But now that the internet is kind of part of every day, that's just what bands do, promote themselves online. It's kind of it's more difficult to make yourself heard.
I don't think we were like even in the first sort of bunch of bands that.
I don't know. I mean, maybe early on we kind of...
maybe there was less then, but I don't know what it was that sort of allowed us to reach people. Sort of difficult. I don't know. We sort of have mixed feelings about it. We wouldn't be here in Kiev or going to Moscow in 2 days, or going to St. Petersburg the next day, were it not for people downloading our music illegally. People over here wouldn't know about us. We couldn't sell music here. So that's sort of the positive side of it. The negative side is that we can't concentrate on the band. We have to go home and do. I work in a pub. Rob works in an office when we get back. In order to pay for the band in the time when we're not touring, and that it's not necessarily a terrible thing that we have to do that, but it would certainly be nice if we could afford to do music full time. People are already asking us when we're going to have another album, and we don't know when we're going to have the time to do it.
It would be beneficial for fans if they're able to support us financially, because if we can afford to concentrate on the band full time, then we can make more music for them and tour more often.
The best thing fans can do if they like a band is to buy t-shirts, come to shows, and buy music through something like Bandcamp, where the money goes directly to the band, or buy CDs from the band's sort of online store or the record label, because it's not just the bands that sort of suffer from it. The record labels that help the bands out obviously lose out a great deal. It is sad that money is such an important part of it, but it is, and that means we have to sort of make money from the band somewhere to be able to come here. But like I say, we wouldn't be able to come here if people hadn't downloaded the music illegally. So it's a massive sort of
double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's difficult. All these questions are difficult.
I guess the shows in Ukraine have been really good.
And Russia as well.
Yeah. Last time we were over here, and Russia were some of the best shows that we played. The audiences are really just wild. It's nice, really enthusiastic.
It's nice seeing people sort of so enthusiastic, like having reckless abandon at shows, just so into the music. In Britain, we have good crowds. The audiences are brilliant, but everyone's a little bit sort of self-conscious and worried about perhaps what people think about them when they're at the shows. So they tend to be a little bit more reserved. So we've been to Japan and around Europe, and all the audiences are different. You can sort of sense differences between different countries, different ways people behave at shows.
And it's not always that you need to have an audience that are really sort of wild, but sometimes you have audiences who are quiet and appreciative, and that's kind of just as nice.
Yeah.
But I think it was the first time that we'd really had the crowd react that strongly when we came to Russia the first time, and then Russia and Ukraine the second. It was just quite a surprise for us, and it was really nice.
Rob has an electronic project.
Yeah, I do some electronic solo stuff under the name Maybeshewill, and I play in a band with Jamie, our bassist, called Dark Horse, which is Jamie's band. It's more sort of electronic pop type stuff.
Matt, our new keyboard player, is in 2 other bands called Buenos Aires and Speaking in Italics. And I guess I do sort of the non-musical side of things. I do kind of design work and promote shows and put CDs out by other bands on a record label called Robot Needs Home. We all do sort of quite a lot of stuff to do with music or related to music outside of Maybeshewill. Jamie runs a recording studio, records loads of bands from around our sort of area, and we all keep ourselves busy.
I think probably the most immediately satisfying thing is to play shows. So I guess out of the two, it's difficult because the shows are really fun, but also just the concept of creating music that is heard across the world in itself is quite a big achievement and is really quite gratifying for us. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I can answer.
No, I'd love it. Obviously, it'd be amazing to play in a stadium to thousands of people. I'm just as happy when we're doing shows in small clubs and playing to sort of intimate audiences that you can sort of tell are so into it, and you sort of get a distance between you and the audience. It's less. I find it like less satisfying. I like that sort of intense experience. And I don't know. Obviously, yeah, again, it'd be nice to sell thousands of records, but so long as there's a few people appreciating what we do, it's worth doing, and we'll keep doing it. Yeah, we don't have massive aspirations to be a huge band. Just
because we know the sort of music we do isn't really going to ever get that level, just because it's quite a niche genre.
Since we've been doing the band, we've not had any expectations of it. We just started the band and put the music out, and everything that we've achieved with it since has been a bonus.
It's always quite surprising, I think, when we were able to do things like come here. We never would have thought 5 or 6 years ago that we'd be playing Russia and Ukraine. It's kind of mind blowing.